So are we individually intelligent, right? We are able to model a certain thing, how to be a monkey in a civilization, and we don't get very far in seeing the big patterns. I think individually humans are not generally intelligent. In order to be generally intelligent, you need to have an intellectual tradition, and it's the whole tradition that is intelligent, right? And I think this idea of a civilizational intellect that is being built over many generations, a global optimum of the modeling function, that is the idea of the Tower of Babel. It's like the founding myth of our civilization. And that thing was destroyed because people started to speak different languages. So this edifice to reach the heavens, to understand the nature of meaning, to understand how we root in reality, to understand our relationship to the universe and how it works. This requires that lots and lots of specialized people talk to each other over many generations. And humanity largely doesn't have 1,000 years of unbroken intellectual tradition. Usually somebody opens the doors and murders the mathematicians if there's a revolution and burns down their libraries. And then a couple generations later, the knowledge worker drones of the next newly established king realize, oh, it's important, and they get tasked with rebuilding this intellect that existed before, and they make something in its likeness, and often they get the foundations wrong. And this happens all the time. And our own civilizational intellect, our own newly erected Tower of Babel, basically has scars. After the Roman Empire failed, we have been governed by a cult for over 1,000 years. And this was intellectually a very dark age. It was an age in where we seriously asked people to believe that talking to a burning bush on a mountain is a meaningful experiment that tells you something about norms and about the nature of reality. And if you were unwilling to profess to this belief, then there were grave consequences for you as an individual. So you better had to shut up. Which means it's very hard to have an intellectual discourse in such a world where most people don't agree on ways to discuss truth is a very scary place to be for a mind that tries to capture reality and truth, right?
Yes.
And that's also a thing that scares me when we constrain our discourse away from truth in our society.
Yes.
It makes it much harder to discover truth. And it's not that people don't know what's true. At some level, most of them have an idea what's true. They just are unwilling to think about it or talk about it. There's a saying, it's very hard sometimes to wake a sleeping person, but it's impossible to wake up somebody who only pretends to sleep. And religion largely works by asking people to pretend to sleep, to pretend, or an ideology also works like this. There is a certain thing where you realize, oh, reality is not quite like this, but the part of me that thinks this is flawed. And I need to fight this part inside of me because it's not really good. It doesn't submit to the principles of goodness that all my friends and me agree on and all the good people agree on. And I will get ostracized from the family of good people if I start thinking true things that are not good. So this is a big danger, but it's something that of course happened in humanity all the time, and people get around this and start making sense of things. I believe that our moral preferences are the result of identifications that need to guide our decision making, but not our model making. Our models need to be only subservient to truth. Our decisions need to be subservient to what we want to achieve, what we think is desirable.
Yeah, models to truth, decisions to what we want to achieve, yeah.
So in some sense, we are rebuilding the civilization intellect, and I think we got further than any other civilization before us. Because a very important building block was the unification of our languages and a kind of mathematics that is able to model the reality around us to a larger degree than the classical mathematics that existed. So these computational models that can automate the execution of mathematics, that can make machines that build mathematics, that compute models of reality, this was the big step.